Alright, today we're going to look at KCorp's first week in the LEC, and there was a lot of hype, there was a lot of anticipation for them. They finally got their spot. The performance, it left a bit to be desired. So before I get into this, I want to say we have to give these players some time. They played a long time in the Ls, a lot of years in the Ls. You can make mistakes there that you can't make in the LEC. They get punished instantly and then you're in a lot of trouble. So give the players some time to adjust to the level, to step up their game, and good things will happen. Still, I'm going to have to focus on the Sololaners of KCorp because they were quite the weak points of the games in the first week. Sarkin looked quite shaky, he had a lot of problems, he looked really nervous to be honest, very hesitant in all of his actions, and then Cabo, he was really out of his depth a bit and had quite some trouble with his decision making. So we will try to go over some of the biggest issues in the games, not in terms of individual mistake, but more in terms of decision making, because when we look at the games and at the whole team a bit, the mid game was the biggest problem, it was quite shaky. Alright, so let's get straight into it. This game we could focus on a lot of things. I think Sarkin's laning was quite underwhelming when we consider he was playing versus Electrocute Akali. Cabo's Gragas E mechanics also not the best, but what we are going to focus on is the biggest turning point in the game and kind of the game losing play or plays. So here we have the situation with the Dragon. They had mid push, they got Dragon first, but they still had to concede it and Bo dies trying to steal it. This is fine, okay. What happens now is important. Now the situation is like this. We can see Fnatic has a mid lane wave, so they go for it, they go for the tier 1 turret, it's quite free. Nothing for KCorp to do here, they would have to go around all this way, they will be too late, nothing to defend, impossible. So what do? We recall together ASAP, which is what they kind of realize, and they do, at least their support and their top laner. And Upset probably has nothing to base for, so he just moves there. The big problem here is that Sarkin goes for bot lane wave, okay? So Sarkin goes for the bot lane wave, we go a bit back. Right now he goes for the first one. The first one I think is fine, if he can get an item from this. I don't think so if you look at the components, but the problem is the second wave, okay? So if we look at it, we can look at it at the minimap at least, there's no camera there. This wave he's going for is okay if you don't want to sync the recalls, it's okay. You don't lose that much tempo from it, even though I would prefer if he goes back with his team. The second wave is really greedy, there's nothing to get there, there's no second tier turret, there's no pressure he can do, and Fnatic has all of the possibilities now, because they get the mid lane tier turret, which we already know is going to happen. And then they can just rotate bot lane and you're in a really difficult position because there is nothing to save you there. So I wonder why greed for these waves bot lane and overextend up to this point when there is nothing to even gain from that. So he's not really looking ahead and now he's in a lot of trouble. So this situation is already really bad, really bad. And now the thing is, how do we respond to that? Okay, Cabochard thinks we have to salvage this play, we have to help him, I TP there. I think this is the exact opposite of what you should do, because they are already moving, you saw them from mid moving instantly there. They will be much quicker than your team, so you would have to think you stall them out really long for your team to arrive and then kind of help out. But this is quite unrealistic. So what you should do is you should push mid lane wave, we can see Lucian is still there. You should push mid lane wave, then you go back to this area, Nasher is spawning in like 40 seconds, you get control of the area and you, after Azir dies, you try to stall out Fnatic and you try to make it really difficult for them to just rush Nasher. So Azir, who still has TP, can come in and then you fight. So this is what you should do, but they think salvaging the play is maybe the better idea, or they at least try to. So let's see how this turns out. So we see they are really long in a 4v2, so it's just a terrible situation. You have already a bad situation because Sarkin greeds for the waves and then you make it even worse with the TP. It's not the only TP this weekend that was quite bad from Cabochard, and both die. You see bot lane arrives way too late, nothing to do there, Jax was still dead. Really hard position. Now Fnatic even over chases. I think just now they should already just go to Nasha and just rush it down. I think this is completely overkill. The play from Humanoid is also a bit weird, to be honest. But yeah, nothing really happens here. Some summoners are blown, but not that much. And if we go further ahead now, we can see they still get in time for the Nasha. Saken TPs, just as I said earlier, just now KaBuShard is dead or was dead and has no TP, so he's not in the fight and he's still coming from base. And now you're again in a disadvantageous position where you have a 4v5. Before that you had a 2v4, now you have 4v5. So always a man down or 2 men down, and now it is just really difficult to approach and really difficult to fight. So we can see how this plays out. Bo kind of tries to get in range, not really possible. Kisanto solo kills him and the game is in a really dire state now. So you had a bad play, you made it even worse. You didn't really look ahead, there were some things you could do to make it better. Yeah, a couple of mistakes from both the solo laners in a row. Now the game really hard to recover from, I think. Okay, so now we are in game 2 versus G2, the reigning champion of course. Really hard game. They have to play a lot around the sidelaning of G2, they are really quite good at it. And KCorp, they didn't really understand how to play against it, I felt like. So we are going to go over multiple situations where there were problems with that. We could also talk about the draft. I think Malphite is really worthless pick here. The only value it has is kind of versus the Aphelios. The Aphelios has of course no mobility, so you can just ult him and he has no flash. But that's basically it. Besides that, it's really weak in lane. As a last pick especially, you lose lane versus Cannon. And you can't really do much against all of the other champions. So it's only good versus Aphelios, and it kind of fits the comp with all of the hard engage. But that's about it. So I think it's quite a liability, this pick. Cabo, he played it quite well in the early game, to be honest. The first 15 minutes he recovered quite well. He got ganked 2 times and he still came out like even CS. So that's actually a really good performance at this point. But everything after that was was not that optimal. So the problem was the sidelaning here. So we can see right now is a good example for this, that they didn't really understand how to handle this. So now we have a 4v4 situation with 4 players from KCorp here trying to do something against the free and the turret. And meanwhile LeBlanc is unchecked and Cannon is kind of still top, and they have a lot of trouble here. So the thing I think is the biggest problem in this game is they have to go against the side lanes first and then transition to mid. So I will repeat myself quite a bit in this part of the video, because it happens like 3 or 4 times where they don't do this. So right now we can see kind of what happens if you just go mid as 5 or 4 and try to force things. So right now we see KaBuShard actually TPs here to force the play here. So now if you do this, you kind of have to dive them, you just have to all in. Because if you don't, you lose a lot of resources on the sides and you wasted your TP for nothing, which is really valuable in this game. And you are just in a bad situation. So right now already I think this is just not a good play, because also if we look at it really quickly, Cannon has TP, LeBlanc has TP. So if you go for this play now, they can just TP, they can TP here, they can TP here, and you're in a lot of trouble with the Cannon ult. He has flash up, he has everything up. I think it will be quite a disaster. So it's not really even a viable play here. I think KCorp, they realize it because they don't commit for it. And nothing is really going to happen. And this is something that will repeat itself. They just lose sideline waves, they lose a lot of gold, they lost like 500 gold from this play. And yeah, we're going to go straight up to the next play. Next play happens around the dragon. I think this kind of shows what happens if you force way too much. So they get the dragon, they get third dragon, they're in quite a good spot right now. It's a really nice place. They got a nice timing window to do it, and where there's not that much pressure from the side lanes besides the cannon. But what happens now is really questionable. So we see KaBuShard is ulting Aphelios. Aphelios has flash. This should be communicated at this level all the time. When the AD carry has flash, it's so important. So it should really not be possible that he just ults there straight in when he has flash. It's just not allowed. Maybe it works in his diamond solo queue games that the AD carry forgets to flash or something, but in ADC it won't. So this engage is really terrible. And also if we look at it, even if it hits, let's say Aphelios doesn't flash and stays in this position, then who's going to follow up? Like, this is quite a long way to go for both of them. Nico is still somewhere there if you look at the minimap, and Vi is not even on the screen right now. So there is not really, I think Hansama doesn't even have to flash, to be honest. It's just a really terrible engage, and it is so unnecessary as well. It's so unnecessary because they just got the 4th dragon. They can now go and fix their waves on the sides and then try to make a play together, but this is just a completely bad situation. Now Cannon gets flanked. This is kind of what we just saw a moment ago. What would happen if they would have forced the other play before that? Quite a disaster. Okay, now we are in minute 27, and yeah, the same problems as before, to be honest. LeBlanc is threatening down the bot lane. Cannon is right now moving towards top and going towards that. And now the additional problem is G2 can actually trap Nasher a bit with Viego and Aphelios, so KC is kind of forced to do something about it. And same problem as before, they are not addressing the side lanes first, they are just going straight up for the play in mid lane through numbers advantage, which they tried before but it didn't work. Now it works actually. So we see they get a kill on Nautilus, who was quite overextended, and even Aphelios, so it's close to the best case scenario for them. Still now we can see it's a really hard situation, because you didn't address the side lanes. They threaten to just end the game while you want to do Nasher or do something similar like that, or gain an advantage. Maybe get mid to it, I don't know. So now what are you doing? We see they are all thinking about, okay, let's maybe just all recall, but it feels so bad to get 2 kills and then just recall and do nothing with it. So what do? They go for the Nasher. And only Nico recalls. But at this point you already lose 2 of your inhibs and your base is in a really difficult spot. It also takes a bit of time with 3 people. This season Nasher is a bit tankier than before, so it takes quite a bit of time. Yike is also annoying and like wasting a bit of their time and threatening a steal. So this is just a terrible situation for them now, because they didn't go for side lane picks first, and we can see right now in the bottom here they are basically losing their whole base. So we can think, is it even worth it to get these kills now, because now the game is even harder to play because the base is completely open. So now 30 minutes into the game, this is the first time basically we see them address the side lane situation first. We see Upset go top and try to catch up Caps. This is what I wanted to see basically like 15 minutes or 10 minutes ago, but this is the first time it happens. He actually gets the pick, he has to use flash, which is not optimal, but this is the correct decision at least to make. They even lose strength for it, doesn't matter in my opinion that much, because you can't with this situation, you can't just go for the dragon, then you just lose the game on the sides. So this time he gets the pick, and now this is the first situation where they can actually do what they try to do the whole game, which is force down mid lane with a number advantage, while not losing the whole base. Only Cannon is there, and Cannon Nico should be able to handle Cannon and wave clear the sides. So now they have a really strong position, and this is the first time they do it. So we can see they realize it and they just straight go down mid lane. I think they should even go and try to force and hard engage now on Aphelios with the Vi ult. But now we see already the decision making is not quite clear, or not the decision, but the coordination between the team. So some are going back right now, then someone is clearing a ward, so they are all doing different things and they are not really committing. So now we see, okay, Bo has the right decision here. He knows, okay, we have to use this window to actually force the play mid. So he goes for the play. But the problem is KashiLoL is using his time at this point to clear the ward there, so he's not even in range to do anything. I think he shouldn't clear this ward. Maybe Upset should clear it. It would be much quicker, and he can then join the fight from there. I think you have to clear it because Cannon can TP and flash ult with level 16. It starts to get quite a problem. But KashiLoL should never do this because it takes way too long and it wastes the timing window they have right now, which they have to use, because if you don't use it, you can't guarantee that you get it again. So now we have this fight, and they have not enough follow-up because Cabochard is not in place. And Upset gets caught, and the game is over. So yeah, completely wrong approach for this match, I think, for them. But to be honest, it was quite hard to play this kind of situations, especially as a new team. So I don't expect him to win this game. Now we are in game 3, the third game, and they are already 0-2 now. They play versus Mad. This was quite a hype matchup because of all the fan bases, of course. And this game, I think it's hard to kind of pinpoint the exact thing that was the problem this game. I think the early levels, they played really suboptimally with their champions, especially on top and bot lane. So I'm going to go over this really quickly. And then the game losing situation was a lot of uncoordinated play. So we are going to look at that. So first of all, if we look at the first 4 waves, I think this was the worst game of the 3 of them where they played the first 4 waves really badly. So right now already this is really bad. So it sounds silly because the waves just arrived, but with Ashe Caitlyn you have such a strong level 1. There is no chance for a Renata Aphelios to trade against you level 1 if you do it correctly. So you should really get into a better position, and this is just not it. Because like this you can't really trade that well into them. So what you really want is to get this brush, or at least this one, and then kind of have this kind of angle, and then Ashe should probably be on the bottom side, and then like shoot her Hail of Blades, auto attacks, and her volley and things like that, and Renata is much weaker. So this is kind of how you want to play this. You can even do a level 1 to just go S5 level 1 and then get this ward down here, so you don't lose control of the brush. But yeah, they are not doing this. Now they are going for it. It's way too late already. It's already bad, and the trades are just even like that. So this is really terrible, to be honest, from them. They played this lane really badly. This shouldn't look like this at all. I made a video like a year ago where actually Neon and Kaiser, which is maybe surprising, but they played this lane really well, so maybe take a look at this. So yeah, not optimal, and with this lane you really need to play it flawlessly, because if you don't, it's just a useless pick. Then we look at top lane, and we see Cabochard is going for a 2-wave crash, or at least he's trying to, but we see it doesn't quite work out. So this is also really not the situation you want. I'm going to pause really quickly. Because first of all, we have to think, when we think about how do we want to play the waves, why do we even want to 2-wave crash? Because 2-wave crash, you want to do this because then the 3rd wave, it's going to come into you, and then you are really safe from any kind of jungle gank. So this is when you want to do a 2-wave crash. But in this kind of draft, you can expect Sejuani to path bot lane, because it's Ashe Caitlyn. So you kind of want to easen up the pressure for your bot lane, and you can't really path top lane. So there's no reason for Cabochard to even do this, but then it doesn't even work, and now he's in the worst position. This is the perfect spot for Akali. Akali is really chilling right now, she's really happy. As Jax, you can't really poke her, you can't really threaten her, you can't do anything, and because you are too close to the turret. This is the happiest spot Akali can be in, let's say. And Jax is just not comfortable, and it really sets him up for a more difficult wave states later on. So this is really not optimal. So early game, not optimal, but still they got into a good position. They were ahead most of the game, KC. But the biggest turning point of the game starts now. So they try to catch out Mervin on the side lane wave on the Akali. He has no flash, so maybe there's a decent chance. They are also first on the play, so I think it's not the worst play. But they are so uncoordinated here. If you look at it, so Sarkhan goes first, now he's the Shroud, and now what is going to happen now? This is just complete uncoordination. We can see Upset is going alone on the Akali, which was probably the call, kill Akali, kill Akali. Sarkhan is moving upwards, not even in any kind of close vicinity there, even though he has flash and ult, so he can outplay anything that's going to happen. And Cabochard just TP'd, so he's also early to the play. But what we are going to see in just a moment is he doesn't really go for the Akali. He decides, no, I am going for the Nico. and zoning here. So now this is the situation where everybody is doing something different. Upset is going for the Akali, which is the original play. Meanwhile, Azir is farming caster minions, and the Jax is zoning. The zoning, I think it can be fine if Sarkin actually helps Upset here. If not, then Jax has to help him. So someone of both of them has to help him, but nobody does. So Upset just dies to the a bit broken Storm Surge item. And now already the situation is not as good as it should be. And we can see what's going to happen next. Sarkin is trying to approach the fight, gets ulted and just basically doesn't get any hits in and dies to auto attacks from his own teammate. And now the game is really swings in favor of Mad Lions. So quite sad to watch. This was just uncoordinated. I think these kind of things, they get better with time. But still, yeah, quite disappointing. And it kind of shows the problem with Sark in all of the 3 games. He was kind of scared always to make the plays. We saw it also in this game. There were a lot of situations where he could shuffle in, he could do things, but he just doesn't. Now if we go into the next situation, again very uncoordinated. So they go for the third dragon, of course they want it, but they are late to contest because of the Nasher situation before that. And we can see Cabo is going in way too early again, a bit similar to the Mel fight when he was going in mid lane. He is in 3 people right now. Bo is still not close, they both are not close, Caitlyn is not even on the map. So well, I'm not sure what he's expecting there. He gets Aphelios to half HP, okay, but nobody is there to follow up. So again, really uncoordinated team fighting by them. And now after Nasher and after the Dragon both together, I think the game is really in Mad Lions' hands. So these were kind of the problems in their first week. I think there's a lot of progress to be made. The first week, of course, the schedule was really difficult. We have to admit G2 and Fnatic, 2 of the strongest teams, of course. And then even Mad Lions, they have a roster where 4 of the players already played together. So we can't expect that much from them in the first week. Second week, they should be able to pick up 1 or 2 wins, I think, at least. But there's a lot of progress to be made. So they need better decision making, way better decision making in mid game, much more coordination. And what's also important, Sarkin really has to start playing with some confidence. I think he has it in him, but he has to start showing it, because if he can't, it's going to be a big problem. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe or comment, whatever you feel like, and I will see you on the next one.